Hey, this is Mark Wagner. I just had an amazing conversation with Gianni Macias, who has done 5 years at Zillow, 2 years at PadSplit, and knows all about tech for real estate.
Yeah, and I had an amazing session with Mark Wagner. He has 83 tenants. He's used multiple platforms to be highly successful, and is a real estate investor that I take notes from. So tune in.
We got a session. If you are a realtor who's looking to fill some vacant investment properties, or you're interested in making money with real estate, flipping, renting, PadSplit, any of that, this is for you, and you should watch what we're going to talk about. We're in heaven here. So I'm here with my buddy Gianni, and we're going to talk about some different real estate things, rentals, flips, construction, you name it. Just kind of talk about a lot about how to rent things out. How do you cash flow things? And traditionally it was you buy something, you rent it to someone. Then along came Airbnb, and then it turned it into more of a business and short-term rentals. And now the old boarding house thing. You know, you ever watch Hey Arnold as a kid? Remember how Hey Arnold's grandparents managed a boarding house, and there were all these random different people living there? Well, that's coming back. That was a quintessential part of American living before the 1940s, before the boom. And now it's coming back due to the economy, and it's coming back in a new way. So there's this app, a lot of you probably heard of it, especially if you follow Pace, PadSplit.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about how Gianni actually has experience with PadSplit.
Yep.
And he worked with them during a lot of their growth years, and he could tell us a little bit about how the system works and why people are going to it.
Yeah, I think it's ironic that the U.S. is the only country in the world that's the last one to adopt co-living. Co-living's been everywhere else in the world except for the U.S.
Right.
And then we're late adopters to just about everything if you really think about it, So it's intriguing to me that there's ways to fill the void when it comes to real estate, right? So any sort of vacant property that's been sitting for a while, and obviously rental incomes have leveled out, but for a while there, it was a lot of vacant properties sitting and not really gaining any sort of traction. So this gives an opportunity to add extra rooms and ultimately increase the rental income per month as well. And Mark's a prime example of that. How did you start ultimately with, say, your first PadSplit?
Yeah, so I've been doing basically PadSplit for 13 years. I mean, the PadSplit's only been a company for 3. I was renting out rooms when I've told this story a few times. I told it in my Airbnb course. I was 18 years old, and my dad, we had a townhouse in Maryland. We had just moved there. My mom went to California after my parents split, and we went to Maryland. And then he got a girlfriend in Virginia, and he was like, okay, look, you can switch high schools for the 5th time and come live with my girlfriend in Virginia in an unfinished basement, or you could take over the lease. So I took over the lease of the townhouse. It was like a 5-bedroom townhouse, and I just started subdividing the rooms up. I put so many people in that house, because every time I needed money as a high schooler, I was a freshman year of college, it was between there, I just rented out another spot in the house, and I was making a couple $1,000 a month, which for in 2010 for a high schooler is just killing it. That's killing it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, like $100 bill was a big deal back then, and so. I was doing that, and then we got some foreclosed houses and started subletting, and I was basically doing all subletting until 2018 when I started buying. And I've tried renting the whole houses out, but I've just found that unless you're going to make a place perfect, like we have a friend, Chris Marcus, and he does luxury rentals here in Vegas. That's an example.
Chris, you're the man.
Yeah, and his houses are top notch, but he also has a full staff that he has to pay to make sure everything goes perfect. The experience has to be on point.
Yep.
And he has risks too, because there are seasonality, laws are changing about short-term rentals. When people are on vacation, they expect the highest luxury. And so something more stable, more predictable, safer is just renting out the rooms.
Well, I also want to bring up on that point is PadSplit is dedicated to average person a member staying in property is about 9 months. Good chunk of them will stay over a year. Airbnb is fantastic, but you gotta remember where that started at. It's a vacation company. So the average person stays 3 to 5 days. There's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of cleaning involved. You have to clean every time someone leaves. With PadSplits, it's typically a clean lady comes in how often? Or you have one on premise?
I have
one,
cleaners on staff and on premise, but the complaint level I get with PadSplit is nothing. Like Airbnb, they come in and they're like, there was a hair next to the toilet. I want to Now, pad split, they come in and they'll pretty much solve their problems because they're going to be living there. They're paying by the week. They're getting a good deal.
Which is smart advice to do actually with how he has it set up, because if there's anything that does need to get taken care of, it can get handled very quickly.
I have a great analogy here. So I was a Turo host. I had like 30 cars on Turo back when it was relay rides, and then it became Turo. So I was doing them in DC and Denver, Colorado. And I noticed in Denver, I had people. The DC was all like a lot of H-1B visa people that just want a cheap car. They just want to get to their job in DC. They're a contractor. They don't care. $500 a month, Camry, good. Colorado is people going skiing with their families. And oh my God, if you have a flat tire on a car when a guy gets there with his wife and 7 kids and they're going to Aspen and now he's got a flat tire and his vacation is fucked up, you are never going to hear the end of it.
Yeah.
So I realized that vacation, when people are on vacation, they will pay more, but their expectations are really high.
Yep.
And when you're one person or you're a small business of like 5 people, you got to be realistic about what expectations you can meet.
Facts.
We can't all stay in Fort Knox, right? It's got to be an average type of place, and then just do scale. So I have 65 units. I have 83 tenants across 3 states. So I'm doing something that works for everyone, not just rich people on vacation.
100%. And that's the whole reason that, say, Pad Split was created, right? Is because the average person makes, genuinely speaking, around the country makes less than 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
So for them, you can't afford to, like if you're a teacher, for example, you can't afford an apartment here in Las Vegas. Average apartment, studio apartment's like $1,500. So if you think about with deposits and everything else that goes into getting a place, it's a good point of entry for a lot of people to save money. Ultimately, at the same time, allows an investor, somebody that owns property, to make more rental income. I've noticed, even just having known you, that I've seen you manage your properties, and it's been something where I'm like, it's fantastic that you stay in touch with your people as much as you do. And that's a key component to success on, say, any of those platforms, is engagement with the clients. Because a lot of people think it's easy to get on there and just absolutely start making money, and there's really a lot more behind the scenes that happens.
People think it's easy and it's quick, but you really don't start feeling like a business until you have at least 3 addresses.
That's a good thing to know.
Then it starts to become sustainable, and beneath that, I tell people you might not want to get into real estate, because being a landlord of one place is a whole extra bunch of unknown pain in the ass stuff that isn't going to really pay that much.
Okay.
Unless you make it your whole thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I also give you kudos all the time, because he's like one of the first adopters of Turo, Airbnb, and Pad Split. Like you've been a technology forward, using platform marketplaces since the beginning of 3 major ones at least. So
I think I was like Instagram user number 16,000 or something too. And then I lost that account. I was Facebook user, I was in the first 300,000 Facebook users.
Yeah, see?
I don't know how Yeah.
You just got a hunch.
Yeah, but that didn't mean I maximized it. I mean, there's people that started a TikTok 6 months ago and already have like 3 million followers. So
yeah. Yeah, my background was I was at Zillow for 4.5 years for the digital advertising. And ultimately, I love the prop technology space. So being able to help investors or brokers or realtors, say with advertising, all the way to marketplaces and platforms that allow them to broaden their horizons. It's come a long way if you think about real estate in general, right? It was a paper trail business for 50 years, 60 years, et cetera. And now it's, you can get a listing agreement done through DocuSign. Who would have thought that was possible? So I think ideally, I'd be curious to understand, how do you work with pricing pad splits accordingly? Like, is each room priced based on the size? Do you do it based on what you think is going to be tenure for?
I price them below.
Okay.
I price them below market, because you can raise it after a few weeks. So, a month or 2. I just want to get the rooms filled. I hate vacancy.
No.
And that's usually, so I usually go to about 80% of market, and that's why I have full occupancy.
And that's ultimately what makes you successful in that, because a lot of people believe that just getting paid more to meet their mark is gonna be sufficient. And the way your strategy has actually it's been awesome to see. And what do you think is the hardest part of managing your rentals?
Well, a lot of it is there's a few things. There's it's the same. I mean, these are very known century-old problems with being a landlord. You don't know what the people are going to do. Sometimes you get people that don't pay or cause problems. Sometimes, which is pretty easy in a state like Nevada to manage that. And PadSplit has a really good system. I think they use a little bit of psychology and a little bit of technique to kind of get people to pay or leave without a tremendous issue. They've kind of mastered that. And then there's also just unknowns. Like right now, I've got a little bit of stress on my mind because I know I have 2 dryers, an AC unit, and a sewage pump that all need to be worked on right now. And finding workers that are reliable to do all that is another part of the process.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, having talked to you, has been just finding tenants, getting people in rooms, finding people to fill those rooms. And that's one of the best things about those marketplaces is they do all the advertising. They have the name behind them. They have an opportunity to get people in the door very quickly compared to, say, prior to those marketplaces, people were having to manually do that themselves. Facebook ads, having to put out, you can even go all the way back to putting in newspapers, like having to spend money on the advertising themselves to get that done. So there is a give and take as far as what, say, those marketplaces charge to have a property on the platform, but
it's worth it. I think PadSplit's undercharging, really. I mean, PadSplit only takes 8%, and certain percent of the first month. With Airbnb, it was egregious. Like Turo now takes a 48% of the money paid.
48%.
Yeah. So I rented a few cars for some friends, and I was renting a Jeep Cherokee, and I got like $600 or $570, and she said, "Can you reduce the price any more?" I'm like, "Well, how much are you paying?" $1,078. And I was like, "Okay, that's crazy."
Yeah,
you paid $1,000, I get $500. That's nuts.
It's wild.
But PadSplit's good about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing with real estate in general is just being able to. It's all leads, right? Wanting leads, wanting to be able to follow up with everything and get everything to run as efficiently as possible. Get people in as efficiently as possible. And I think marketplaces do a fantastic job of that. I do think there's going to be a lot of AI kicking in the future as well. Obviously AI has been pretty substantially beneficial in my life, just to help kind of, I would say, what is it, like tighten it up. Like if you want to use AI, it's great for sales. Like if you come from a sales background, be able to use AI and implement that into how you communicate with, say, potential leads, potential tenants. I've used it for rental properties in the past, where I, just use ChatGPT or whatever and be able to plug in what would be a perfect description of a property that you want to put on. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. And then be curious to know, with you and PadSplit, like what are your growth plans for it? Where do you see yourself with this in the long run?
Well, I emailed I think it was the founder of it. I forget. This was like 2 years ago because I have a blueprint for a house that's a 24-bedroom house, and I want to continue to work on that. So lately, I've been flipping houses because I had this is kind of where my business has gone. I had maintenance guys that were doing work on my existing rental properties, right?
Yep.
And then one of them with the 25 units was like, we were building tiny houses and casitas there, and so there's a lot of work there. And I said, hey, these guys are so good, I can go buy these houses over in Kingman for like 8 to 20,000, and we can flip them for 100. So we started doing that a few times. And then I wanted to buy this lot here in downtown Vegas to build a 35 unit tiny house village, and that would have grossed $1 million a year. And then in buying that, I got connected with this guy Doug DeSilva, who was the seller, and his lender Dave Shapiro, who's a big hard money lender here in Vegas. And then
I've heard that name before.
Yeah. And I ended up doing now I'm doing a $3 million house up in Sunrise Manor, and I'm deciding whether Chris is gonna manage that afterward. Chris's crew is gonna keep doing the build out on that, and or whether we just flip that, let it go. Because again, luxury is not really my thing. I prefer to have volume. Like I would rather have 100 houses than like 5 luxury houses.
Yeah,
but at the same time,
to each their own, right?
It's nice. I mean, it's nice.
I think diversifying the portfolio is strong, though. I mean, ultimately having a mixed bag between both.
So I'm looking at, and now with this thing going on in California, I've been looking at, there's this company Strata that makes these foam block houses, these foam homes. And it's half the cost of construction. They're fire resistant, earthquake resistant, everything.
I've seen them actually. They're impressive.
The ones in Hawaii?
Yeah.
Or where?
No, we had an investor that was interested in. He was looking at building out like a mini city, ultimately with, I think the strata homes where it's like little just independent units. You know, if you get a chance to check them out, they're pretty impressive actually. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. It's just that that can be the material because it speeds up the construction, and then if you can build a house with 24 rooms,
Like it's cookie cutter homes.
yeah, and that can be sold to an individual business owner, someone that wants to get a mortgage and become a landlord, and then they have 24 units. Now you're solving the housing problem. Now you're creating a massive number of units.
Yeah, a lot of investors actually that I've worked with in the past were going that direction. We're interested, you know, if they had the capital behind them, would be ultimately to try to build out co-living, like little mini cities to an extent, you know, be able to do 50 units at a time or 100 units at a time. So I think that's the future of it. I think that's the future of co-living as well.
They're the poor man's apartment building. I mean, like BlackRock can go and build 5,000 units.
Yeah.
But if you're not BlackRock and you're a smaller company or you're an independent person, but you still want to have apartments, this is the way you're going to have to do it. It's going to have to be splitting up houses or creating the granularity in some other way.
Yeah, and I would actually really kick this into the fact that if like the economy's down, right, and say jobs aren't there and people are having a hard time as it is, a lot of people are doing co-living on their own, especially here in Vegas. I have a lot of friends that will run like renting rooms out of their place, living there. Right, just to kind of fill the mortgage, or if they want to make a return, then they can make a little bit. But it's something that's already happening, and this is just going to be an opportunity to build that at volume and fill the gap. It's really that gap that needs to be filled for people to be able to get ahead.
It's always been a thing.
It just needs to be brought to a trusted place. You know,
right?
Trusted marketplace, have everything behind it. So. It's fantastic what you got going on, man. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well,
and ultimately,
this stuff anyone can get into because you know these are technically not commercial properties; they're residential properties. So if you have a job wherever, you can get a mortgage and you can buy one of these, join pad split, and start making money.
Yeah, or properties are sitting vacant. If they're sitting vacant for too long, and they need to get a rental, you know, you want to get a return on it, then add bedrooms. You know, the minimum standard for pad splits is 4-bedroom minimums, and then ideally you take a 4 to a 6, and you can get 2.5 to 3x your rental return.
Yeah,
right.
I tell people don't ever buy a 2-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom. Like,
No.
why would you do that? You're paying only. I bought a 10-bedroom house in Paradise.
Yep.
And all modern flip. You know, now granted, I paid $550 for it, and the ones next to it are worth like $400, $450, and they're 3-bedrooms. So I'm like, okay, so I got 3 times the room for an extra $100,000.
But you just nailed it. That's literally ideally what it is. The point of entry, the golden point of entry for success in that is ultimately if you can get it anything above 4-bedroom for $300K point of entry, and you will return that. You can take that 4 to a 6. Maybe even a 7, and then you're bankrolling. You can actually start bankrolling into your next property that way. But the idea of thinking you're gonna get rich on a 3-bedroom and you paid $500,000 for it, like good luck. So definitely be aware of that in the future. And that's where I've seen success the most with the clients in the past, and diversify.
So this week I'm putting an escrow down. These guys are just kind of hard asses about the house. There's this house up by Circa, like right in downtown, and it's 7,000 square feet. It's all gutted. It's 4 houses that were merged into one like 40 years ago.
Oh, nice.
And now they're selling it. They're empty. There's just like drywall. And it's fenced in really nicely, but and there's some California group. They bought it. And they're selling it, but they want to earn some money down before you can even view it. So I'm going to put the $20,000 down, go look at it.
Okay.
And then if it makes sense, though, gotta go with the GC. And if we can sub it up and put like 20 rooms in there, then it's a win. It's a clear winner because that's like, let's say $900 a room.
Yep.
That's $18,000 a month in income. If the mortgage is 4, 5, 6, 7, even, you're still cash flowing for $13,000 or $11,000.
Facts. A lot of. That's gonna be an interesting.
So a 6-figure income, and that's just added to the existing thing that's already, So.
And then, have you done anything with the sub 2 side?
You know, I haven't. I think it's really cool. I think it's promising. I'm already at the stage where I have money and I have lenders, so I don't need to rely on the seller. And in a lot of cases, I think like these guys, for example, this California investment group that is like, give us 20,000 before we'll even let you in the front door.
Yeah.
Imagine approaching them being like, hey, do you think you could sell or finance me this house? They're gonna be like, so I think that's great if you don't have money, or you're just really lucky, or you already have a good relationship with the seller, you can work something like that out with them. I also do feel like, and I'm a skeptic, clearly Pace's thing has worked for a lot of people, so I probably just don't know.
Yep.
But I feel like that could lead to a lot of tricky situations because it's already hard enough to get people to keep their word on one end or the other. I mean, you could have the seller playing a game with you because they changed their mind. Or
Well, most of the people, if they're that far behind in general, I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures to an extent. Like, there's not really a...
I feel like the established rules of finance are established for a reason. I mean, they're thousands of years old. There's a reason why everything happens the way it happens, and that's to enforce the right thing.
I understand.
So if you start going outside of those rules, I don't know. But that said,
people do it.
There's also red tape has also held up a lot of great deals that could have happened, and the system doesn't adjust. Like right now, you get something called a what's it called? A no, not CDFI. What am I thinking of? DCSR. DSCR. DSCR means dual. It's basically a loan on the rental income of the property, and that's some people's takeout. So they're going to do a flip. Like Chris just did this house, Maria Elena, beautiful house, by the way. They're throwing parties there for some upcoming events in Vegas. And
shout out to AVN.
Yeah, AVN. Yeah, it's AVN parties. You know, shout out to Playhouse TV. But anyway, so what I would like to do, right, and this requires you to have a W-2 income, is you flip a house, whatever way, you know, your grandma gives you money for it, or a hard money lender, or whatever. The problem isn't what interest you're paying when you do the flip. That's fine. It could be 12, 15%. You'll make less money, but as long as you have a competent crew that's going to get it done, you're fine. The problem is your takeout, and your takeout is, how are you going to finance the house after that? Are you going to get a conventional mortgage? Are you going to get an FHA mortgage? Are you going to find a cash investor? Are you going to sell it?
Yep.
Or if you're like me and you haven't worked, a year and a half ago I was working in tech making multiple six figures, but now I haven't been, and it's been long enough that I don't qualify for a conventional loan. So I have to go on business income. And most people that have small businesses are probably not
the prime clientele or prime investor for that.
Well, you
right
want to write off a lot of things.
Yeah.
So you don't want to show a lot.
It's not going to give you an opportunity. I'm saying like that, an investor like yourself wouldn't be the prime clientele to be able to say help out, say a hard money loan, etc. Outside of that, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, could you clarify?
Yeah, I think maybe I'm a little lost on it myself, but ideally it would be like, if you have it under the business and it's not under yourself, there's not an opportunity for you to show anything to say back that up or co-sign somebody who say needed to get a loan, right? Like.
Right. So it helps if you own the houses and you're not renting them through a business, and then you can demonstrate the income from the houses. However, it's still better for many, many reasons, including liability, to put them under a C Corp or an LLC. And in my case, I do C Corp, and then have the business declare the money. First of all, you're only going to pay 25% tax instead of 45% personal income tax. You just make zero on paper, the company makes the money. And then you're doing a bank statement loan with the company's income. Mm-hmm. However, that still is reliant on the company having a very good, profit on paper. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is you can get a DSCR just on the potential earnings of a future property, meaning like, leaving your existing stuff alone if you have good credit, but you're going to be paying 30% down. So that limits how many houses you can buy at a time. And pretty generally two points above, 200 basis points above market rent. Okay. So if you want a really good mortgage and a really good 3% down, you got to go conventional. So that's why it kind of helps if you can somehow have a good W2. If you can make $500,000 in tech, then you should really be buying all these houses with that. I mean, you could just get ridiculous mortgages if you're in that position.
I think this is a lot of good insight you've given. Yeah. He's definitely someone who's done really well with this, and I highly advise anything that Mark says to follow the path on that, because it is a numbers game. It is a point of entry game. It is an opportunity to utilize it the right way, and if done correctly, good member experience comes first. Being able to make sure that the people want to stay on property, but number two is making sure you maintain that relationship. I think that you've done a fantastic job doing that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm not the greatest at it. I've just been doing it 13 years, so
look, I've jumped in the real estate game for a bit. I like the tech side of it, though. I prefer being in the back end, be able to help realtors and investors like yourself, utilize technologies or strategies that may be a little outside the box or a little bit more tech forward. And
it's hard. This is something that's really hard to automate. I mean, that's the reason why Zillow is having trouble, and that's the reason why Airbnb has hosts and PadSplit has hosts, is because there's something where you need a human touch. You need a human to understand.
Oh, I think that will always be there, 100%.
What's right and wrong with something. You can't fully automate housing for humans, because humans are unpredictable.
Yeah, not with selling of the homes, but definitely the processes in between. All the process from closings to listing agreements. It just needs to be done. It'd be so easy to be able to handle multiple listings or multiple, say, properties with technology versus paper trail. Back in less than 20 years ago, it was all paper trail. So it's interesting to see it transform and keep moving forward. I wonder where it's going to go next. I think AI is going to be the future, though, for sure. I think AI will be a huge chunk of.
That's the first time I've heard that.
I would say the follow up, though, to leads. Being able to send marketing campaigns, like sending flyers out, being able to do touch points with your past clients is going to be, I think, a huge AI-based, what AI will be used for from realtors and brokers in the future. They have to do that stuff manually or pay someone to do it now. So I think it would be the future for everything, but I'm just talking.
Well, man, yeah, no, I agree that right now if you're a broker or a realtor, it's a scary time. Because they're rapidly turning it into like an Amazon, eBay model for buying houses.
Yeah,
there's a new app I saw the other day so I don't know what brokers are going to do. I think they should save their pennies and start investing in houses. That's your real advantage in working in real estate. Isn't the money you make selling houses? It's your proximity to the deals, and that you will find out about the deals before anyone else. So if you don't have an investor partner already, that's probably where your bread and butter is. I mean, pocket deals are incredible. You get something for a third of the market rate because someone didn't want to list it.
Yeah. Hey, feel free to call Mark anytime. Here's his number.
I bought a livable house for $20,000 in Colorado, 2018. $20,000. It was worth $80,000. I bought it for $20,000 because the realtor had a pocket deal for me.
Fantastic.
So
lock up that property. Yeah. Good.
Hey guys, if you like this content and you want to see more of it, follow me. I'm SKIWHEELR, Skiwheeler on Instagram. And this is Gianni's. I'll let him read it because it's really long.
Yeah, ideally. Yeah, so go ahead and follow me. Add me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Gianni, Gianni. Again, Gia, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, I. Macias, M as in Mary, ACIAS.
Hey guys, if you liked what we talked about, please like, comment, and subscribe, because this helps the algorithm show us to other people like you. And if you saw something that you want us to delve into more, put it in the comments below.